right. Well, here we are again this week. Crazy that summer is rolling by.
Yeah, very
and,
quickly.
World Cup ended. You became a fan.
I became a fan.
Which is awesome.
You should take responsibility for whatever that means for creating a fan, because to date, it's always been a thing for a lot of people. For me, it was like background noise. Like I'd go to places, we'd watch the game, and truly I'd watch the game, but I didn't have an interest. Like I was like, oh, it'll catch me.
Yeah.
And it never, for whatever reason, I didn't allow it, or it never caught me. When you started to talk to me about strategy and things, I was like, all right, there's more to this game. Obviously, it's very popular. And I became 1%. Because I don't know anything yet, so I don't consider myself a fan, but I'm certainly interested. And it was really cool.
The good news is to learn the intricacies of the game, let's say, will come, but it's not that complicated. The offside rule, I know, takes some understanding, but it's very similar to hockey in a way.
Yeah.
So if you know hockey, it's a lot easier to understand, I think, than lacrosse if you're just starting out watching lacrosse. So, but I think the hardest part, and I've said this to you, is when you see the World Cup and the game played that eloquently, right? And you go and watch a normal soccer game, it's hard.
It's missing some of that.
It's just beautiful. And that's why they say the beautiful game. But because when you see it played at the highest level, they make it look so simple.
Yeah.
And it moves fast. Yeah. And when you see an average game, let's just say, if you watch, and I don't mean to put down the MLS, but it's any league other than some of the top leagues, quality of play.
Well, it can't be, right? I mean, it's
and that's what makes it so great.
That's why it's so special. That's where I was going to go. It was, when you say beautiful, it was pretty funny to watch as a complete novice.
Yeah.
Like passes being completed, things that I took for, I've watched right through my life. I've been at soccer games. My kids have played soccer, and I lose the interest, I think, quickly, other than when my kid is playing and I'm trying to watch. It just seems so messy, and it seems so much like circumstance. I don't know, they were around the ball, they kicked it in. So watching it being played, and I know completion rates and all that are going to vary, but passes completed, plays developing, I could get a sense of how it's supposed to work. That was beautiful to watch. It was really cool.
And what I wanted to do by starting there is just to show it's so similar to any great business. So much goes into being able to deliver at that level. So the amount of hours, it's just not a God-given gift. There are elements to that, of course, right? But there are a lot of players, when you listen to them, the amount of struggles that they went through, or they were not one of the premier players growing up, but they worked their way in to becoming the type of player. It's the hours. I mean, even when you think of Messi, the training Messi does, the amount of hours he spends to get to the level where he is at, and then to stay there. It's just, I think, so there's this, I think sometimes, and it's interesting because I'm not sure where it's come from, but over the years, I think there's this feeling that, well, you're just blessed with it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Those things, I think, are just mistruths, right? You are blessed with certain things, but without working on them. Did you read, I read this years ago, so I don't remember the name of the book, but Kobe Bryant's shooting coach wrote a book.
No,
really,
that sounds
really
pretty cool.
It is. It's really interesting. And when Kobe hired him, he said things like, I'm not going to be like anybody else you coached. And this is before I knew Kobe as a player at all. I knew him as a premier player, but I didn't know much about him other than his stat line and following him. The shooting coach would get calls on average 4 a.m. and say, let's get moving. It's time to shoot. And he would try to take something like 1,200 shots before 5:30. The numbers were staggering. Yeah. And this coach was even saying, the players that I coach, they're not taking those in a day, and he's trying to take them before team practice.
It's incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
So
there are certain ones.
Gifted, right? Yeah. Gifted dramatically above all else in all the physical elements that he had. But the mental toughness and what he created is just unbelievable.
What he had that mental toughness that We talk about, I put out a piece just on the Tuchel because I was so impassioned around like what he did with England. And I looked at it as such a great leadership lesson, but that he was actually hired for alpha. And Kobe, that's how he created his own alpha.
Yes.
It was that he was going to outwork everyone else. And that's how he decided in his own, I think, upbringing, because his own development, he required from the goals that he wanted to set, he just realized that, well, for me to do this, and if I want to be about this is what I got to do.
Yeah.
And I think that discipline is just off the charts, what he was.
Yeah, I would urge you to read it just to see a glimpse of what is one of the greatest players to ever live did. And so, again, people that don't know, and I didn't know, would assume like, oh, he's got great, hands, balls, like all sorts of things that are intangibles. The work that he did to fine tune those things to the level he did is just,
he was a genius. Yeah, he really was a genius when you listen to him talk. And I'll check that out. Thank you. But when you listen to a lot of his talks, I think I underappreciated him.
Me too.
During his time.
Me too.
In fact, I disliked watching it because I was never a fan.
Right?
Yeah. So, although I loved it when he turned around the USA basketball team, because we were kind of starting to go down there, and he came on, and man, was he just like
the competitive nature. I mean, Michael Jordan had still has a tremendously competitive nature in everything that he does. And it's important to keep that edge, right? Keep it in track. But I had the same love-hate with Jordan in the mid-'80s to 90s with the Knicks. It was always like, you respect the hell out of him, which is what a tremendous talent. But God, what he did every year.
I know. But I think that when you look at what goes into just being able to play a beautiful game in business, how much you really have to do behind the scenes to be able to deliver. And
that's right.
I think that's the one thing that we've been trying to get across in accounting is it doesn't have the credit it should have with the amount of effort that it takes to be able to deliver in the way that we have been able to deliver, which is just, it's been so much in the way of grind.
It is to create the differentiation, to create the alpha. The talk that I give so I've coached youth football for years and years. And I would almost ask the kids a question. It's funny because depending on the ages, when they were younger, they'd look at you, and even at their 8th grade year, they still kind of look at you a little bit, but you could hopefully feel it snap just a small bit. We'd compare ourselves to the neighboring towns, Wyckoff, Ridgewood, Rampo, and I'd be like, hey, do you think Rampo had practice tonight? Do you think their coaches are any better or worse than us? We lost when we played them a year ago, and they have similar, hopefully good coaching, and they had practice tonight, right? So what have you done to differentiate yourself from last year if you're doing the exact same things? So the way that we're going to win this game is you're going to go home tonight and tomorrow morning, and you're going to think about this. You're going to work harder. You're going to do push-ups. You're going to hydrate. You're going to think about the game. Like that's the only alpha that's going to be anything different from what we did a year ago.
Right.
And so I think that Kobe and all those other players, right, there's team practices, all those things. And the things that made them truly great are enhancing the God-given talents they were given by putting in all of the extra work. And I think that's what we're trying to do here at WIS.
It is. And I really, I think from a societal point of view, we can't lose that. We cannot lose that. And that narrative around the amount of hardships and failures that you're going to suffer from along the way is part of the process. And we can't shelter people from that. And we also can't make it so they're living so alone through that either, right? So when you think about what's happening in accounting right now, and I think what you just said is great, because first of all, I think the mistake so many companies make, and we see it constantly, is that they'll say something like this: I don't get the information I need.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. And I don't get it quick enough.
Yep.
And that's it. They'll just, that's the questioning, okay? But there's not enough time spent on why is that? Why is that? How do we solve for that? And what is realistic? Because the foundational layers have to be in place. Correct. And that's the opportunity we have right now, which is going to require a lot of thought, and it's going to require a lot of quote unquote man hours to be able to reinvent, rethink how all this is going to play out.
Agree. And where we find our alpha is not simply with AI, because
Right.
it's not alpha. It's
Correct.
the same speech that I gave to the kids about Ramapo and Wyckoff, and everyone has it. If everyone has it, nobody has it, right? So the alpha needs to be how you're using it. And so the fact that we've spent so much time internally honing the skills, using the tools, that's alpha. That's the difference between us and somebody that's a new entrant into the market trying to figure this out. And we have to continuously work on that, or that shrinks.
Yeah, and you have to keep in mind, what are you trying to deliver? What are you trying to accomplish? What do your customers want from you? And it's the same thing when we think about, again, using the World Cup as the lens to, I think, view from. What we all loved was watching the game be played at the highest level possible, right? So when you bring that back and you say, for your own business, whatever it is, you say, I want to be able to deliver at the highest level possible. Here's where I am today. And then you can look at it and say, all right, well, how do I supercharge this journey? And AI is going to be available, but it's available everywhere. It's like electricity. It's available. Everyone has it, okay? So then you say, all right, well, that's great. We got to do that. What else is getting in the way? And so I think for us, the biggest lesson it has been where we were missing was on connection, communication, the things that you take for granted. And we've seen a big difference, right, over the past couple of months, and it's changed our perception, I think, and also changed a little bit of the playbook. I think we're editing the playbook.
We are. And it's not only intercommunication between our people, it's opening up the channel with the client to be, when we're trying to help them get to the resolution and they're bought in and they're interested to help us solve the problem together, because one side couldn't solve it alone.
Right.
The results are phenomenally better. And I am definitely seeing more and more, you become aware of something, you see it more and more. The operators that I would say are okay almost with status quo. And it's a lot harder to get them to pay attention when there's not pain. And the pain is usually driven by growth, reporting, like a variety of things could cause the potential pain where they pay attention to this. You can't help but think, whoa, they're worse off for not paying attention to this. But I don't know that we're there yet where we can educate them. Like they have to have their own moment of pain or enough that they recognize this is a problem. The ones that do are going to have a distinct advantage. And if they're in the same market, that gap again, that alpha is going to grow, and it's going to be real. It's going to be tangible. So I had 2 very different phone calls this morning with clients, and one was really enlightening. It was a CEO who's actually somewhat unhappy with the speed at which he's receiving the information. And so rather than say brute force, we're going to work harder, we had a call with both teams on the call.
When you say both teams, their team and our team?
Their team and our team.
Okay.
And he had brought up a thing that he had questioned about revenue, the revenue reporting. And rather than, like, if you don't dig in, the problem's going to persist. We went all the way back to what's the derivation of the revenue item, and then why does it change as it moves through this? Like we walked all the way down, and then now that we have an understanding of the problem, funny enough, internally following that phone call, it was, are we able to utilize an aspect of basis to make this even more efficient when we're asleep and we're not here? And that's what we're going to work through now. But the care to go into the problem and figure out what it is, because these things typically have a reason, right? And if you're willing and able, and we would have never been able to solve this problem without their intervention or their involvement, because it's extremely nuanced, as it is every company. Like this is the actual point where this gets a little screwy, and why theoretically this should work perfectly, but in practice it's not. And understanding why, what needs to change, it's the favored word, the workflow, that we need to alter to get to the desired state of them being able to report against this regularly. And this is a guy whose company is growing more than 20% month over month.
Mm-hmm.
Ad spend is very high. He wants to considerably increase the ad spend, but he wants to be able to measure really carefully where the spend is improving, where it's detracting. And so it's an extremely important thing. And he's of the belief, this is theoretical, and in practice, what we're seeing is there's an optimum spend where they're not overspending, the CAC is good, like all those things match. And the closer we can help him get to that real information, he's definitely better than the competitor. Right.
So what's his mindset? What's his goal?
Well, in which sense? He's got a lot of goals. He's a very
Well,
driven
I'm just
client.
saying in terms of accounting and reporting, what's his goal?
He wants to be able to, at the end of every week, determine how they did over the last 7 days with enough accuracy to make a decision
In
next
what
week.
aspect?
So for him, he's really measuring margin and revenue revenue growth overall.
Okay. So that's his goal.
Yet not as concerned with below the line. And we had a discussion around things that are like monthly, that it's, does it make sense to put estimates in? Does it not? Do we true those up? And he's far less concerned in that and more in driving the top line with smart spend on advertising.
Okay. So that's his key performance indicator.
For right now, yes.
Yeah. And is the expectation being set achievable?
It is.
Okay.
It really is. So,
which is important.
I told him I'd be honest with him.
Again, because I think we're getting into a bit micro, which is fine. But when we think about right now in these conversations, that's an important thing that has been missing a lot from accounting.
Mm-hmm.
In that the expectation has been X.
Correct.
And to deliver that, the default has been get people to work as many hours.
Just work harder.
Work as many hours as you possibly can. It was funny because I'm getting to see my son Christian's just started at one of the big four, and they're already you better be prepared to work till 4 a.m. That conditioning is already happening, and that's the way it is, right? That's how they service the customers. That's the expectation.
There's an expectation.
There's timeline pressure. I get it all. And the solution still is through human labor with some tools, don't get me wrong. But that's the way it's still viewed.
Sure.
And one of the things we're really trying to look at, and with these opportunities, you have the ability to rethink. And when there's and I think a lot of accountants have to educate more about the expectation gap.
There's a point where this fails, right? And so we're seeing it in real time. It used to be close my books monthly.
Yes.
And report against it. And it was like, we're 2 weeks out after month end before we close. That's not great. Can we get even closer? And that was the goal. And so now with this client in particular, he wants it weekly, right? So if we just looked at putting in more effort and not utilizing some enhancing tools, a lot of effort, we're multiplying the work by 4, right? Ultimately, there's 4 closes in a month given versus 1. What happens when he calls and says the refresh on Meta's on Wednesdays? I now want it twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
Without building the machine to do it appropriately, we're looking at an unending labor problem, right? So this is where we also get to our points that we bring up regularly around, will it create more or less work? If this particular client is not an anomaly, which I don't believe it is, or he is, more are going to want more frequent closes, more frequent access to real data, which is going to bring up more things to investigate, which are going to, it's a truism that creating this data is going to create more questions and more things to investigate, and it's going to drive a better company. Right. He's going to be a healthier company. He's going to be able to make better decisions with the data in real time.
And what you're saying is so important, because right now, when you think about layers, let's just talk layers. So the layers for many businesses as it relates to their reporting and what the information that they want to get. the layers have been, for the most part, a workforce of people. And you have your team of accountants, and there's a structure to that, and there are roles for that, and there are functions for that. So that's one layer. And then there was another layer that are the tools that they individually have been able to use. And the spreadsheet, Excel, has been a main artifact there. And then, so that's how they can kind of do what they need to do to manipulate information. And you have a system of record. You have your ERP that runs across an organization for the most part. And an ERP could be as simple as it's QuickBooks, or it could be a really sophisticated engine, and you're talking about SAP. So you've had these layers, and the accountant is assigned certain aspects as to what to do, and they interact with their own tool, the artifact of Excel, little Word, and then they pull information out of the ERP. And that's the structure.
Yeah, it's the backbone of the entire economy.
Okay. Exactly. And so that's just to kind of, paint the picture of that's what you're starting with. And then you look at, all right, well, what does AI do to that? What does AI do to that? And what does it do in terms of helping meet the expectations of the founder, the owner, the constituencies that look for information? And there are a number of those. And the bigger the company gets, the more people need to have the information. So the reason I'm trying to paint this picture is that what's happening, which we're trying to help our companies understand this, is that there's two major pieces to this if we just look at that picture. There's the individual that's been interacting with Excel.
Correct.
There's AI now that an individual can use to supercharge that relationship with Excel.
Yep.
And that's whether you want to use ChatGPT, whether you're going to use Claude, whatever. Okay? You have your intelligence layer. And this is an important conversation because that individual has to have, if you want to increase the expectations as to what you want out of that department, unless you're going to start to think about how do I multiply the efficiency of that area, I have to think, am I going to burn them with more hours and just say this is what I want and figure it out? Or am I going to really think conceptually around what are the tools I have as an individual? And then what tools do we have as an organization that is going to be more holistic from the standpoint of here's my team, here's my accounting team. What do I need now to interact with this system of record? All my data's here, and we can question whether it's clean data, bad data, whatever, because whatever happens at that layer is going to make it so are you dealing with accurate information or not?
That's beautifully put. It's like the key thing to the AI question when people kind of guess at what it's going to do. And when I talk to owners that ask the questions about like, well, what is it? I think that presenting the reality of we have a system,
right.
We'll call it the system of record, and we have an individual in Excel. Cut the individual out for a second and just we have Excel.
Yep.
As an operator of the company, I want to run a report that shows me A, B, and C.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to my system of record and ask for a return of A, B, and C, it doesn't have access to that Excel. So it's unable to give me what I need. And so that is the fundamental problem that we're looking to help companies solve, is if we can drag that in some format, the system becomes immediately more valuable. This individual becomes more valuable because they can add context to data that I'm able to query them on. Without that link being connected, that's the exact problem. And people, I guess we've understood it, so we've never really spoken about it, kind of like identifying that that's the problem, but that's exactly what the problem is. The system lacks the data to provide information back to the people that are responsible for making decisions or running the company. And that's exactly where we see our variety of tools and skill sets bringing that information into the system to operate it the way that it's supposed to be used.
That's right. Well done. And I think that's where we, in our messaging, we're trying to get across, you have to rethink this. You absolutely have to rethink your department and how you're going to get there, because we keep seeing time and time again, they are trying to solve for something using the exact same playbook. And the playbook is limited by how many hours a person can work.
Sure.
The
tools they have.
The tools they have, the individual tools, and also their capabilities.
Correct.
Right? Like, you're relying on their capabilities. And you're not going to know that at a very granular level.
No. You're not going to know. And
if you do, that's a problem. You're spending your time on the wrong things. But you're not going to know.
Yeah.
And you're going to judge by when I get the information, and you're going to judge by the complaints you get from the field, because they're going to complain about they're not getting information. So you're going to judge it that way. But what I keep seeing, and you keep seeing, and we keep seeing, is just people consistently bringing in people to go and solve, and here's a shovel, go dig again, and without an architect.
Yep.
That's going to say, we have to redesign this. This is the ways in which we have to think of building and reinventing our function. So we actually have the capabilities and the firepower, because the intelligence is enhancing your capabilities, and that's running. You should have that running on your behalf, like you said. And what you said before with firepower is, we're going to run this thing outside of human hours. That's the firepower.
It is.
Okay. So you're bringing in two components, right? You're bringing in the standpoint from the standpoint of, I'm increasing my capabilities because I'm bringing in additional intelligence. So right off the bat, I'm not as dependent anymore to an individual's capability and their own intelligence. I'm bringing general intelligence. Okay. So that goes up. And then the other piece of the equation goes up is the firepower, which is, I'm going to set it up that I have agents working on our behalf, and it's doing stuff, and I don't need to go send this overseas.
Yeah.
I have it doing it now.
Yeah.
I don't need the 12-hour time difference.
It's eye-opening when you see it come together. We talk about the game and the beauty of it, the orchestration of the behind the scenes to be able to produce this stuff is the real work behind, like, the scenes that's necessary in order to get these people what they want.
Yeah.
And so there's been a big frustration point from leaders and owners that don't take the time to look into why this is and try to solve it with more people working outside of the system, creating more information outside of the system, top loading, operating it outside of its intended purpose or outside of its intended way to be utilized. That will ultimately lead to missed expectations, right? I expect
and over
again, a system of record is going to be able to produce the reporting for me, and the frustration over and over again is it doesn't. No matter what we do, it doesn't.
Right.
And the limiter is what we just talked about. So we have to start by trying to solve that problem first. And luckily for us, in our time, AI is really helping us to be able to do that at scale. And so it's an unlock, and it also allows them to ask much more pointed questions earlier in the process than they would have. I mean, I have a number of examples from today from our call with the client where there's not a lack of work being created by this. There's more because it's timely. It was 2 weeks ago. We got an invoice. There's questions on it right now. And having this call and going through it leads us to be able to go back and have a discussion about the vendor invoice almost at the point where rubber hits the road, not 6 weeks later with what's real and in front of us. Like, it's just it changes.
Everything is going to
job.
Everything's going to get faster. Everything's going to get faster
for those who adopt it.
Absolutely.
Now, what's funny is on the other end of this, and I'm not exaggerating. This was the morning I had a second client call who they made an acquisition of a company, and this is during 2025, and we need to file the tax returns. and we got the books, and I noticed, but I didn't pay much attention to it. The entirety of the purchase price is in goodwill. And so I don't know, maybe they bought intangibles. I have no idea. I sent it to tax. I just got a call from the tax partner this morning. He's like, hey, I'm just checking on this because 100% of the purchase price is in goodwill. It'd be odd, but maybe. I mean, it's a tech company. Maybe they bought. Quick discussion with the client. And they were like, yeah, look, we keep it all in goodwill for now. And we were like, for now? That's not a for now decision.
Yeah.
And the repercussion of this is real. Like there's tax implications as a result of this. So first of all, there's being correct and incorrect.
Right.
Second of all, there's a true cash positioning thing to getting this correct. And they've made it clear, like they're not interested in the books and records. It's not how we run the company. We run the company based on different metrics. This is, a process that we use in order to prepare a tax return. And I can't help but feel like they've probably not entered the world this way as business runners,
Right.
owners, operators. They've probably been let down by accounting before.
Absolutely. And this become I want this. This is the piece that I have to rely upon.
Yes.
And I have to prioritize that because that confidence level in having all of it is so low.
Yep.
And that's, I would say, not uncommon at many.
It's an unfortunate position that we're in, but I would love to be able to speak to those that are in that way of feeling right now and let them know that that's solvable.
It's solvable now. It's solvable, and it's actually by not solving for it, you are going to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
It's no longer a question of the priorities of just get me what I need to run my business. It's everything. It's all data. It's every piece of information. The competitive advantage is going to be all the companies that have all of those pieces of information at any given time. They can rely upon any reporting, whether that's a balance sheet.
Right.
Everything's going to speed up. Payments are going to speed up. There's not going to be. You're not going to wait in the future. Give me. Can you give me 180 days credit or 90 days? It's not happening.
Only for us.
It's not going to happen. The speed of which things are going to happen, the trading of everything is going to be increasing, and I think just to kind of wrap this thing up, this conversation is there's a lot to be said here because I want to get into a couple other just interesting elements from the week. I think the commentary around this matter is just that you're seeing if a person has the right mindset right now, and they realize that, okay, number one, you have to go in with the mindset that it's just got to be different. And so I really need to rethink how I'm doing things. The second thing is it is a human problem. It is a connection problem. There is emotion here. There's a lot of things around just the human being that we have I would say, estimated or appreciated or just didn't give it enough attention. And I'm saying the past 2 months, that course correcting of let's not forget how important it is that we roll up our sleeves together. We're very communicative about what's going on, that not only from a teaching perspective and giving them the tools, but like we're in it together. Mm-hmm. That the fear of what happens to you if you cannot keep up, we're right here. And the job may look different, but your job is going to be, it may be a different job, but
it will be different.
And
but you're prepared.
And we need you. We need you.
Right.
We have not at all found that any of this work is leading to we need less people. We need more people. We need different skill sets. It's a additive to all that. But you will be left behind at the same time if you don't.
You will. I find
adopt.
myself talking to our tech people generally now infinitely more than I ever did in my entire career
We're
to
all
solve
in it.
a variety of issues, right? So if you talk about the skill sets of an accountant, if I was talking to an accountant in school right now, it would be you've got to be tech facing in some way. You've got to do something in that world to be, again, you create your own alpha in that world and you become more valuable by understanding the technology better. I would love to have somebody with minors in some form of computer science.
Yeah. Totally.
tremendously valuable.
Absolutely.
As, you know, not that it ever wasn't, but I don't think it was as highlighted for me as a user, a buyer of this, and where I see us going, to see how valuable it is. Again, when I'm on the phone with our tech people regularly, there's always translation because it's from accounting to tech.
Right.
And if somebody could do that and it's a part of their language, I believe they become more valuable than without.
Oh, totally. And I think that the reason we keep saying this connection, this communication, is that the difference between what was happening with software and what's with AI is that software was developed by companies. They were solving for certain problems that they knew to exist. And it would be an add-on that you're using. The difference with AI is you have to understand exactly what a person is doing, because the AI is going to have to replicate what that person has been doing, and understanding why they're doing it that way. So the communication of tech and the users and the people actually producing the work, you can't do without it. There's no way, right? So you have to think through, all right, well, how does that happen? Are my tech people going to work directly with my accountants? Am I going to have intermediaries there that are going to help decipher that information? They're going to put it in a certain way. So you have to think through those things. And if you're in a company now and your tech department isn't actively talking to, whether it's your accounting department, whatever they're trying to bring AI in, like, it's going to fail. There's no way.
The link between the entire companies, I'm generalizing here, but the entire companies and accounting needs to be extremely strong. They when I say they, it's the non-accountants at the companies.
Yeah.
Often sales. Not that I'm picking on anybody. They don't recognize what they do has repercussions down the line. So more than a handful of times I've been on the phone with clients who are like, we didn't even know they were going to sell in Canada. And it showed up and nobody kind of paid attention. And all of a sudden we're realizing, like, we have this Canada, and it's like, oh, that's an issue. That's an accounting issue. That's a thing that needs to be dealt with. Or we cut a deal with this customer, and we, like, there's so many things that communicating like needs to increase to make the company smarter and to allow accounting to be a part of the discussion around it. Because some of these decisions that they make that seem like they're additive for the business could end up becoming like real problems, like real issues that need to be solved. And it comes back into accounting, and accounting gets the bad name. Oh, you're the roadblocks. You're the, and it's like, well, no, there's a set of rules and things that we need to comply with that we're trying to do. And that's an example of, like, if we had communication slightly prior, we just said, oh, we've got to enter this through ABC, or maybe we should form a disc before we make that sale. Or like, there's a variety of things that you would want the input from the accounting department or your partner in the accounting world. But because of the experience and the way that it's been run, you're like, easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. Sort of.
I would say, if you want to fix your culture, bring in AI. 100%. You want to get rid of factions. You want to get rid of cliques. You want to get rid of non-departmental communication.
Yeah.
Bring in AI, because you'll fix your entire culture, or blow it up, which may be fine too, right? Because either way, I think you can really use this as an opportunity to create the environment you want. And I think the whole concept around this is that, and we'll jump into this as we start to come to a conclusion, as the economy is becoming so much experiential. Experience matters. We saw that with the World Cup. We see the connections, the post-COVID. We're out of post-COVID. Like, I don't even want to call it that. I don't know what we're gonna be a new name for it, but we're back. Different variety. We're still trying to figure that out, but you clearly see it. You see blockbusters at movies still work.
Yeah.
If you put the right stuff out, I mean, stop recycling the same old crap.
It's been the safe bet.
I mean, I got to move away from that, take some risks. I mean, Odyssey's already surpassed its enormous cost. I haven't seen it yet. I'm looking forward to it. Although I hate when movies are long, because if they didn't have the beginning, half hour an hour, it's like 20 to 30 minutes. The trailers and everything.
Tell you what, though, I went to the movies 2 weeks ago with Carson to watch Minions.
Yeah.
The seats now move, shake, go. It's a ride with a movie.
Entertainment experience, right?
I'm all in.
And
seats were like $6 more. I'm like, yeah. And I'm a guy that is careful.
Like
I was totally okay with it.
When you think about experiential, so you see all the concerts, the stadiums, no cons selling out stadiums. You got Olivia Rodrigo's touring, Ariana Grande's touring,
Bruno Mars.
Okay, he's touring.
I'm going.
Harry Styles.
Yep.
Yeah, so you have all kinds of, right? And then my favorite though, which is a whole, I don't know, we could probably do 6 months on this and go psychologically into it. My favorite are the older groups coming back that are like touring. The older singers, like, I don't know, have you seen Barry Manilow?
You sent me some text. I was like,
it's hysterical. Oh my God. I mean, I give him credit, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like,
it's really hard on both sides. You can understand both sides.
Yeah, I understand both. It's and it's also, I think it's where physical therapy can make these guys. I was thinking about that. Is that man? When I got to make sure I just go for physical therapy.
Yeah.
When, they all like forget about the voice. We could go get into the voice and whether they can perform well anyway. They all have balance problems.
Optimus is going to create an exoskeleton. You're not even going to see it. It's going to be under the suit.
And then you got. I mean, it's just a shame to see David Lee Roth. I mean, first of all, no one wants to see him in his tights. I mean, I remember when I remember the 1984 Van Halen album came out, and Jump was on that, and MTV at the time was huge, and that's when it was appropriate. He had his get up. He was, but his and he can't. I've been sending you some clips. It's hysterical.
I know.
But people are paying. I mean, he's not. I mean, some shows are not getting the view, but there's still people going.
It depends on, like, the voice is still so important. So
yeah,
a couple years ago,
terrible.
I'll tell you what, a couple years ago, I went to go see Tony Bennett.
Yeah.
And
I did too, and I thank God I saw him.
Same.
Yeah.
I grew up in a house where Tony Bennett was played.
Yeah.
And I remember
he
walked out on stage, and it was slow, but the man's old.
Yeah.
So and I remember him talking for a little bit, and I remember thinking, like, I wonder what this is going to be. And as soon as he opened his mouth, it was unbelievable.
It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Again, that's why for me it's like keep performing because you can't you have right. But what's killing me is the Motley Crue. I mean, oh my God! And not only that, they're lip syncing. He's lip syncing. Yeah, it's coming a Motley. It's like, so I feel like that it's like if you can't. But so my point is just it's interesting because I can always go and use analogies to AI. But to me, it's what I would do. Journey's found a way. They brought in a singer because Steve Perry was done. He's not doing it, whatever. But they were able to find this younger guy who's got a very Steve Perry-esque voice who can belt out the tunes, and you go, and it seems like you're listening to Journey, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I would almost think of doing. Would be there's nothing wrong with saying, like, people still want to hear these songs, but I would think they'd want to hear the song sung in a way that they actually remember. Yeah, anyway, that would be my recommendation. But let's go real quick. Just some things that I think were interesting to point out for people. Google blew out their earnings. Cloud revenue. How much you think it was up from a percentage year over year?
I mean, it's a gigantic business, so those businesses are hard to grow. Like 10% year over year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up obviously. 20%.
82%. 82%.
What did they have? $8 of sales last year? How is that even possible?
24.8 billion. Right. So, and CapEx doubled to 45 billion.
So that's less surprising to me than the revenue side growth.
Yeah.
I know CapEx at Max 7 is like gigantic,
huge,
based on the bets. They're
absolutely
like gigantic.
Huge.
So
right.
Those numbers start to not compute at that level. But I'm that revenue growth.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
just think about the amount of money. But that's why we're nowhere yet in terms of what's to come.
Yeah, and the individual adoption we spoke about last week.
Yeah, 2% of consumers.
Right.
So
wow,
huge.
Well, those bets, then I think I'd be behind.
What's that?
I think I'd be behind those infrastructure bets. Then
I mean, that's what you. I think that's. I think. Look, the reason I'm bringing this up is that regardless of whether you think it's a bubble or not a bubble, it's irrelevant. because even if it's the spend is huge.
The spend is happening.
Forget about
yeah.
what it's because that's a valuation question. Are they valued right? Or are they not valued right? Right. But the point I'm making is it's continuing to be built out, and it's taking
this is
shape.
less about stock price.
Yeah, it's
and more about performance.
And the
right?
last
They're
thing we
up
want to do is be
82%.
recommending.
Yeah. That's my other podcast.
Yeah, right. And so just look at like memory chip sales, right? Memory chips. So basically now you think about the next layer, which is really important, is the chips that when NVIDIA and all, is just about getting like, I'm having to get techno here, but processing, inference, being able to train the models. Okay. So the chip price of memory have hit a record. They were $75 billion in a month. Okay. And first of all, there's only a few makers here. This is like one of the things I think that's not a lot of the conversation when they think of the bubbles of the past. It's not as, let's say, like when you think of the internet, the moat wasn't there. Right? So you could see why there would be a lot of failures. Okay.
And here, you have hundreds of companies.
Here, you just have
this.
significant economic scale. Like it's just real. The moat is the moat. It's
well,
really
also
hard to go build you can't just tomorrow go build a plant that's going to fabricate your memory chips.
That's what I mean. Like there's concentration here that makes better sense. When it was software in the original bubble in the 99, 2000, the valuations were high across hundreds of companies that were raising based upon obviously smoke and mirrors. Like that's the truth. That's what played out. I don't see it the same way. And again, I'm not trying to pretend like I understand stock valuation.
Right.
But
there's three companies make 95% of the world's DRAM products, like DRAM.
Right.
And they're shifting to capacity AI chips, right? So what we're saying is that you have giants fighting over this. And with that is billions of dollars being spent. So there's going to be a continued ability for us to get better models out of all of this spend is really what I'm trying to say, is that the way you see AI now, this is just the beginning. It's just going to get more powerful. And the predictions, whether it's 2027, 2030, who knows? All we know is that when you look at what's happening, though, it's on. The game is on.
Game's on.
Because this is the beginning of the game. It's to build all this. It's no different than when again, when you go back into the Industrial Revolution, is the first thing you needed to do is, well, whether you could produce product or not, where are you going to ship it, right? And so laying the railroad tracks was what you needed to be able to do that, right? And just think what happened from there is the same kind of thing. It's just like everything is going to benefit. All right, jobs report. June. Did it beat or did it miss?
Overall, U.S.
jobs, were they beat? Yeah.
I'm very optimistic.
I know. Well, that's good. Jobs came in at 57,000 jobs against 185,000 expected. This was the weakest since the 2024 slowdown. I don't even remember a slowdown in 2024.
Me neither. Apparently there was one.
Well, interesting.
Driven by?
There are two sectors adopting AI. The fastest are shedding about 28,000 jobs a month.
That runs counter to what we've been talking about.
But I think
there could be a disguise because if you recall Amazon doing it a year ago, the story was the jobs were not a direct result of the adoption of AI. It was the slow pace at which they were able to adopt AI, and they had hired in advance. That was
I think it really depends on. I think the larger companies, like really the really like multinational companies, I think that's where a lot of the jobs are getting, eliminated, right? When they bring in AI, that's what I think. But again, that's just a feel. This is interesting. This is surprising. Basic bookkeeping salaries are falling. So a bookkeeper, again, national average, I have no idea where some of this comes from because it's definitely not metro salaries.
No, that's what we're paying now.
Yeah, exactly. So here, all right. So it fell from 42,000 to 36,000.
That's a substantial drop.
Big drop. Which I think here's what it's telling us, right? Because on the other hand, senior accountant salaries went from 75,000 to 90,000.
Okay.
All right.
So people are valuing
There you
when
go.
you have skills.
Yep.
Is
that not right? I mean, is that like playing right into the thesis or
Yeah.
right? So
but it doesn't help with, I guess, the term bookkeeper versus senior accountant needs to be dissected to truly understand it. That there's a threat to the entry level job market.
well,
and there
yeah,
should be
or
fear.
if we even think of it differently, I would say the cost of transactions is going down.
Mhm.
That's probably the best way to put it.
Okay.
That the transactional cost, the cost of what it would take to get numbers in boxes, right? Just numbers into somewhere is decreasing.
Mhm.
But the analysis, the intelligence behind that is increasing.
That matches the macro of how we've been discussing AI and
Totally. And it just goes to show you that that's where AI is. AI is at a basic level right now that it's at the transactional level that you're able to trust, but you need a really good human in the loop that's going to be able to protect
and guide
and validate,
right,
and establish credibility where you can say to the AI model, yes, you're right. And then you're teaching the AI model.
Mm-hmm.
So the seniors that are making more money, you need that because they're guiding the AI.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
That's surprising.
Isn't it though?
But I guess it does line up. I'm surprised by a couple of those numbers. The 82% revenue growth is still shocking to me.
It's crazy. And what's interesting what's happening, I think, just from a macro commentary right now in terms of the way companies are viewing some of the Mag 7, if you will. For a while, they were looking for the spend. They better be spending, they better be spending, they better be spending. And it was almost the more you were spending, by the company, right?
Yeah, sure.
Now it's, oh gosh, we're concerned about your
the
CapEx
overspend.
spend. So now it's Google's, I think today has dropped.
Oh, I read a derivative article of the Google earnings last night, and it spoke about what they were calling, again, I don't know the validity of this article, so take it with a grain of salt, but the off-balance sheet financing liabilities of the Mag 7 into the infrastructure. And it was the fact that they were basically single tenants of these data centers, and I'm using data centers as an all-encompassing spend, to the tune of like $1.65 trillion is what's expected over the next, I think it was like 24 months of spend. That's not disclosed in the financial statements. And again, I don't know, but
Interesting.
usually there's some truth to these things.
Yeah.
And what I guess it would just highlight is the number could be significantly higher in what they're committed to spend than we might understand right now.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, right? I mean, think about it this way. If they build all these and they own all these, they're the ones who's going to rent all these.
They're the toll gate. I'm going to keep using that word. They're the
It's
toll.
a beautiful business.
It is.
I mean, what a business.
Yeah.
You know.
If you are the toll gate in
Yeah.
any one of these capacities, that's where I believe there's exceptional value to be created.
All right. It's a wrap. See you next week.
Yep.
That's a wrap on This Week in Accounting AI. If you found this useful, make sure to follow us. On Spotify, smash that follow button on our show page. And on Apple Podcasts, tap the plus sign and leave us a quick rating while you're there. I'm Paul Peterson. See you next week.